Before this video starts, I'd like to kindly ask you to check out my recent video of me talking about Pearl. Pearl is one of my top movies of all time, and I really go into depth on why I think that movie is a masterpiece. And now, I'm going to explain why this movie is not. Going into this movie, I went in completely blind. If you've watched my Pearl video, you would know that I'm a huge fan of X, Pearl, Ty West, and I'm a big Mia Goth supporter. I think Mia Goth is one of the greatest actresses of our time, and she never fails to amaze me with her just spot-on, just fluid acting. Just on and off acting. It's brilliant. I truly think Mia Goth is one of a kind in Hollywood right now. So when Maxxine was obviously revealed at the end of Pearl, I was excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing, spectacular. This is going to be a Trojan Horse trilogy. And it is. It is a great trilogy. This movie's great. But it kind of feels too late. And I mean that as if this movie came out in the same year as Pearl and X, because reminder, Pearl and X were released months apart. If this movie came out like a year later, maybe the same year, it would feel more earned, it would feel more fluid and more cohesive. I don't really dislike anything about this movie, though. I genuinely think this movie is fun, it's action-packed, it's a thriller. Not necessarily a horror, but it does keep you on your toes. And I haven't watched any reviews on this movie because for A24 or horror in general, I don't usually watch reviews on it. Not only because I'm very pretentious, but I feel like not many people understand horror as an art as well as it being subjective, which is why I only really listen to James and Chelsea. Let's go dead meat. And with horror being my favorite genre, it's very easy for me to understand that, yes, this film is a horror movie. In the same vein that Beau is Afraid I would consider a horror movie. Very loosely. This is more of a thriller and more of an action film. I feel like Ty West did a very good job at explaining, like, X is a slasher, Pearl is psychological, and this is a whodunit. The issue is if you watched the other films, you know who did it. But if you haven't watched the other films in a while, like, there are still times where I'm like, oh, maybe it's this character, maybe it's this character. But at the end, the whole way through, I was like, but obviously it's gonna be this person. The other actors in this movie as well do not overstay their welcome, which I really do like. They are more or less side characters to support Mia Goth, which is really something I want and appreciate, because this is Mia Goth's trilogy. She executive produced this movie, which is really cool, and she wrote Pearl. I think she may have had a hand in writing this one. Not too sure about that. Again, didn't do any research going into this movie. I just simply used my love of Pearl, and I'm a fan of X, and propelled that into this movie. And there's definitely probably some bias for me, so do take what I say with a grain of salt and check out this movie on your own. With that being said, this movie's fun, and it's filmed in a way that kind of reminds me of Terrifier. It's really grainy, it's really well shot, there's some great gore in here, some great golden chainsaws as well as dull machetes. There are really good moments in this movie, but I do think it is it's under the shadow of Pearl. When I watched it with my friends, I forced my friends to watch every movie in a franchise before a new one, because that's just who I am. And so when we watched Pearl, X, then Maxxine, because that's just timeline order. They were like, yeah, Pearl is really good. Pearl was like a great movie. Then we watched X, and they're like, not as great as Pearl, but still a really good movie. A little dark, though. Can't see anything. Then we watched Maxxine, and they're like, that's a good ending. It's a good bookend. If you watch the franchise X, Pearl, Maxxine, it is a good bookend franchise. It is a Trojan Horse trilogy. I love it. I'm glad I finally got to see this trilogy end. Do not make any more. I do not think this film or these films could continue on with like anything. I think you have done your due. I understand Maxxine. We learned about Pearl. It's done. Do not make any more. I think this is a fire franchise, and I think it's the only A24 franchise, and I want it to stay that way. I guess one way I could put it is that this film feels safe. This film feels like, hey, look, we gotta make another one to explain what happened to Maxxine. Let's just do everything we can to make sure the fans are happy and they're satisfied. And there's a lot of moments in this film where I felt like they were going to do a twist or a turn or something that would, like, make me upset. Like, I was afraid this character would overdose. I was afraid this character would die off in the end. I was afraid this would happen to this person and this would happen to that person, if you know what I mean. But I do think this film is a love letter to the X movies, and I do think this film is, like I said, a good bookend. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Maybe one day when I am more involved with the film and more understanding of it, I will make a video as I did for Pearl. Maybe I will as I did for X. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. A lot of you are not subscribed, and it would mean the world for me if you just hit that button. It's for free.